Most people believe they make their own choices. They believe their thoughts are theirs. But what if I told you, right now, you're already being played like a pawn on a chessboard, not by a single person, not by a government, but by the hidden mechanics of the human mind itself. That's what dark psychology really is. Not a theory, not a set of flashy tricks. It's the operating system running beneath every interaction you've ever had. The way a word can slice deeper than a knife. The way silence can crush someone harder than a scream. The way your emotions can be used as strings, and you never notice the hand pulling them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't have to believe in dark psychology for it to control you. It's happening right now. It happened yesterday in a conversation you thought you were winning. It will happen tomorrow in a decision you think is yours. Most people are blind to this. They live as if they're awake while sleepwalking through their own manipulation. But you're not most people. You're here. Which means you already sense there's something behind the curtain, something more dangerous, more powerful, and you want to see it for yourself. So this is the moment, the point of no return. Because once you understand what dark psychology really is, you can never unsee it. You'll notice it everywhere. Ads, politics, relationships, even in your own thoughts. And then, you'll face the only question that matters. Will you master it or be mastered by it? Section 1. What dark psychology really is. Ask 10 people what dark psychology means, and you'll hear the same recycled answer: manipulation, tricks, mind control, as if it's nothing more than sneaky wordplay to get what you want. That's not dark psychology. That's a toy version sold to the masses. The real thing is much older, much deeper, and far more unsettling. Dark psychology is the study of influence where morality doesn't exist, only results. It is the raw, unpolished core of human behavior. Strip away the polite masks, the social contracts, and the artificial rules of society. And you find a mind that is always calculating, always protecting, and always reaching for control. Dark psychology is not about being evil. It's about recognizing that the mind is built with levers that can be pulled, whether you admit it or not. And here's the truth. Most people will never say out loud, you are pulling them already. Every sigh you release at the right moment. Every pause before you answer. Every time you hide your true feelings to gain an edge. That's dark psychology in motion. But to really see it, we have to go back, way back. Long before books, before governments, before the internet. Our ancestors were practicing dark psychology without even knowing the name. Survival demanded it. A hunter who could predict his rival's next move lived. A mother who could sense deception kept her children safe. A tribe that understood how to inspire fear in enemies and loyalty in allies thrived. This wasn't called manipulation. It was life. And the ones who ignored it didn't make it. That survival code is still running in you today. It's why you instinctively trust one stranger and feel uneasy around another. It's why you follow certain leaders and reject others, even without evidence. Your subconscious is still playing the ancient game. Centuries later, thinkers like Carl Jung gave us words for it. He spoke about the shadow self, the hidden side of the psyche, where suppressed desires, fears, and instincts live. We like to think of ourselves as rational, controlled, and civilized. But the shadow doesn't vanish just because we ignore it. In fact, the less we acknowledge it, the more control it has over us. Dark psychology is, at its core, the study of that shadow. Not to worship it, not to glorify it, but to understand it, because only by seeing it can we stop being controlled by it. In the brutal world of politics and power, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, The Prince, a book often demonized as a manual for manipulation. But what Machiavelli really did was expose how influence works when the mask of morality is removed. He showed that people are not driven by ideals alone. They are driven by fear, self-interest, and the stories they choose to believe. That's why Machiavelli's work is still quoted centuries later. Because beneath the polished layers of society, humans are still the same, still pulled by the same strings. Here's the part no one tells you. The dark psychology tips. Floating around the internet, eye contact hacks, body language tricks, fake dominance strategies are crumbs. Shiny distractions. They make people feel clever while they're being manipulated by deeper forces they don't even see. Dark psychology isn't about memorizing tricks. It's about seeing the structure of influence itself. It's why a single sentence can ignite a war. Why a silence at the right time can save a relationship. Why entire nations can be guided by fear, even when the facts are against it. Dark psychology is not about learning new powers. It's about admitting the powers were always there. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. If you refuse to learn this, you don't get to escape it. You only stay vulnerable to those who already know how it works. Governments know. Corporations know. Advertisers know. Politicians know. They design environments, words, and systems to steer you without your permission. They've studied this longer than you've been alive. When you understand dark psychology, you're not learning how to manipulate others. You're finally seeing how you've been manipulated all along. And once you see it, there's no going back. Every advertisement, every speech, and every argument will look different. You'll see the strings, the framing, and the hidden triggers. And you'll have a choice: keep walking blind or take the wheel. Because dark psychology isn't just theory. It's the water we're all swimming in. And in the next section, we'll map out the 3 arenas where this invisible game is being played every second of your life. Section 2, the 3 realms of influence. Dark psychology isn't one thing. It isn't just a whisper in someone's ear or a clever turn of phrase. It's bigger than that. It exists in layers, like battlegrounds stacked on top of each other. If you want to master it, you have to see the whole map. There are 3 realms where influence takes place. Miss one, and you'll always be blind to the game. Master all 3, and you'll walk through life seeing what others can't. Realm 1, the self, the invisible enemy inside. The first battleground is not out there. It's in here, inside your own head. This is the realm most people never win. They think they're free, but their thoughts are puppets. Every fear, every insecurity, every unhealed wound becomes a lever that others can pull without effort. Think about it. You hesitate to speak in a meeting, not because you don't know the answer, but because a voice inside tells you you'll sound stupid. Where did that voice come from? A childhood humiliation? A lifetime of subtle criticism? That voice is not truth, it's programming. And until you break it, you're not influencing anyone. You're just being influenced by your past. Mastery of this realm means recognizing your triggers. The words that make you angry, the tones that make you shrink, the hidden desires that blind you. Once you see them, you can strip them of their power. And here's the paradox. When you stop being manipulated by yourself, you suddenly become unreadable to others. They can't push your buttons anymore, because you've taken them off the panel. Realm 2, the interpersonal, the shadow dance. The second realm is between people, one-on-one. This is the battlefield most people imagine when they hear dark psychology. The conversation, the negotiation, the subtle exchange where invisible power shifts back and forth. Picture a dinner table where 2 friends talk. One tells a story, laughs loudly, takes up space. The other listens, nods, but every so often asks a question that shifts the spotlight back. By the end of the night, the loud one thinks they dominated the conversation. But who do they trust more? Who do they feel closer to? The quiet one. Influence achieved, invisibly. This is the shadow dance, where tone, silence, and attention decide outcomes more than words ever do. It's not about dominating. It's about shaping the invisible current of the interaction. Here, techniques like framing, emotional anchoring, and narrative seeding come alive. But the real secret is presence. Most people aren't really present in conversations. They're rehearsing their next line. The person who is fully there, fully aware, becomes magnetic. Dark psychology in the interpersonal realm isn't loud. It's surgical. It's precise. It doesn't look like power. It feels like gravity. Realm 3, the structural, the hidden architecture of control. And then there's the third realm, the one most never see, the realm where the true masters play. This is not about you or about one conversation. This is about entire systems designed to shape behavior without you realizing it. Walk into a supermarket. Notice how the candy is at eye level for children. Notice how the milk is always at the back, so you walk through everything else first. That's structural psychology. Scroll through your social feed. Notice how outrage gets more attention than calm. Notice how you're nudged to keep scrolling, keep watching, keep feeding the machine. That's not an accident. That's a system designed to manipulate you. Politicians know this. Corporations know this. They don't need to convince you one-on-one. They create an environment that does the convincing for them. And here's the twist. Once you understand the structural realm, you realize you've been swimming in it your whole life. The rules of your school, the design of your workplace, even the layout of your city. All of it is psychology turned into architecture. Mastery of this realm doesn't mean you control nations. It means you finally see the water you're swimming in. And once you see it, you can step out of it. Or better yet, design your own systems that influence others without a single word. Here's the truth. The three realms are not separate. They bleed into each other. The fears inside you, Realm 1, shape how you interact with others, Realm 2, and the structures around you, Realm 3, are designed to amplify those fears and direct your choices. That's why understanding just one realm isn't enough. If you only study conversations, you'll still be manipulated by your own insecurities. If you only master yourself, you'll still be trapped in systems built by others. To truly apply dark psychology, you need to map all three. And once you do, something terrifying and liberating happens. You stop being a pawn on the board. You stop being just another piece moved by unseen hands. You become the player. Section 3. Tools of the trade, mental weapons and techniques. By now, you understand the three realms where influence happens, inside you, between you and others, and in the structures that shape your life. But knowing the battlefield is not enough. Every warrior needs weapons. Every player needs tools. Dark psychology's tools are not gadgets you hold in your hand. They are invisible techniques you carry in your mind. When mastered, they let you bend conversations, steer emotions, and plant ideas without being detected. And the most powerful thing? They work quietly. No flashing lights. No theatrics. Just small adjustments that tilt the entire game in your favor. Let's open the arsenal. Number 1. Language framing. Language is not just communication. It is architecture. The words you choose don't describe reality. They build it. Imagine this. A company announces layoffs. They can say, "We're cutting 20% of staff." That's fear, panic. Or they can say, "We're strengthening our core team for future growth." Same outcome. Completely different psychological impact. Framing isn't about lying. It's about selecting the lens through which people see the truth. The words you use decide whether people feel hope or despair, power or helplessness. You already know this instinctively. Think about your own life. Call a failure the end, and your mind shuts down. Call it a lesson, and suddenly your brain starts looking for what you learned. That's framing at work, turning walls into doors with nothing but language. Number 2, micro-expression, reading. No one tells the full truth with words. The body always leaks the hidden story. Micro-expressions are those tiny flashes of emotion, fear, disgust, contempt, that appear for less than a second before the face returns to normal. Most people never notice them. But once you train your eye, they become like neon signs. Picture sitting in a negotiation. The other person smiles and says, "That deal sounds fair." But for a split second, you catch the corner of their mouth tighten in disgust. That's not agreement. That's resistance hiding under a mask. The power of micro-expression reading is not confrontation. You don't call it out. You use it. You adjust your strategy. You press the hidden weakness they just revealed. When you can read what people try to hide, you're no longer playing the conversation. You're playing the truth beneath it. Number 3, narrative control. Humans don't live in facts. We live in stories. And whoever tells the story controls the direction of the herd. Think about history. Nations rise and fall not because of raw events, but because of the stories told about those events. A war is framed as liberation or invasion depending on who controls the narrative. The same is true in your daily life. In business, a leader doesn't just sell a product, they sell a story about the future. In relationships, people stay or leave based not on reality, but on the story they tell themselves about what the relationship means. Control the story, and you don't need to push people. They'll walk themselves where you want them to go. Number 4, delayed validation. Validation is addictive. People crave approval like oxygen, and that craving is one of the most powerful levers of dark psychology. The trick is not to give validation too quickly. Too much, too soon, and it loses value. Hold it back, and people start chasing it. Think about the leader who rarely praises, but when they do, it feels like gold. Think about the friend who doesn't always text back, but when they do, you feel relief. That's delayed validation. It trains the brain to work for your approval, even if they don't consciously realize it. It's not cruelty, it's conditioning, and it creates a pull stronger than any push could. Number 5, the silent pressure technique. Sometimes, the most powerful move is no move at all. Silence creates discomfort. Humans hate empty space in conversations. They rush to fill it. And in their rush, they reveal more than they planned. Picture an interrogation. The officer asks a question, then leans back and says nothing. The suspect fidgets, panics, and eventually spills more information than the question demanded. Silence broke them, not words. The same works in everyday life. In arguments, silence makes the other person question themselves. In negotiations, silence makes offers rise. In relationships, silence makes presence feel scarce, and scarcity breeds value. Powerful influence isn't about more words. It's about fewer words, timed perfectly. Number 6, anchoring emotions. One of the oldest tricks in the human brain. We connect emotions to people and places. If someone feels joy around you often enough, their brain begins to associate you with joy. The same works with fear, safety, or even authority. Think of music. A certain song comes on, and you feel transported back to a memory, as if time collapsed. That's anchoring. The masters of dark psychology use this deliberately. They create moments of heightened emotion, then tie their presence to it. A leader gives a speech during a crisis and projects calm. Forever after, people feel calm when they see him. Anchoring doesn't need to be dramatic. Smile every time you deliver good news. Hold eye contact during shared laughter. Soon, your presence itself becomes the trigger. Each of these tools, framing, micro-expression reading, narrative control, delayed validation, silence, anchoring, can tilt an interaction in your favor. But here's the catch. They are not tricks. They are amplifiers. They only work if you first master realm 1, yourself. Because if your fear shows, if your insecurity leaks, if your inner chaos is louder than your technique, then every tool becomes useless. Influence comes from presence, not performance. That's why the true application of dark psychology always begins inward. You cannot bend others until you stop being bent yourself. And that's exactly where we go next, how to apply these tools on the most important target you'll ever influence, your own mind. Section 4, inner work. Applying it to yourself first. Most people want to learn dark psychology for one reason, to gain power over others. That's where they fail. Because if you don't first master your own mind, every tool you use will collapse in your hands. A sword is worthless if the warrior can't stop shaking. A strategy is useless if the general panics before the battle. Influence begins with self-command. Without it, you're not a player, you're still a pawn. So before you even think about applying these techniques outward, you must aim them inward. You must learn to manipulate the most dangerous and unpredictable person in your life, yourself. The first war, recognizing your own manipulation. Your mind has been manipulating you since birth. Every insecurity you carry is a lever. Every childhood wound is a trigger. Every unhealed memory is a script that still runs without your permission. Think of the voice that tells you not to speak up. Think of the doubt that whispers you'll fail before you even try. That isn't rational thought. That's programming. Someone, parents, teachers, friends, culture installed those ideas long ago. Now, they live inside you, steering you like a puppet. Before you master others, you have to cut those strings. And the first step is awareness. Watch yourself like you'd watch a stranger. What words make you angry? What moments make you shrink? What compliments make you lose control because you crave more? These aren't random. They're the fingerprints of past manipulation still living in you. Once you see them, you can begin to dismantle them. Weapon 1. Reframing your inner dialogue. Remember the tool of language framing? It works on you, too. Your inner voice is constantly framing reality. Fail once, and it says, I'm useless. Lose something, and it says, I'll never recover. That's dark psychology in reverse. You're manipulating yourself into weakness. But you can flip the script. Train your mind to frame setbacks as experiments, failures as lessons, delays as preparation. This isn't fake positivity. It's precision. Words sculpt thought. Thought sculpts behavior. Behavior sculpts destiny. When you change the frame inside, you're no longer vulnerable to frames outside. Weapon 2. Reading your own micro-expressions. Most people think micro-expression reading is about others, but the mirror is your best training ground. Watch yourself when you speak about your goals. Do your eyes flash with conviction, or do they betray hesitation? Watch yourself when you talk about your future. Do you smile with hope, or does a shadow of doubt pass across your face? These tiny leaks reveal the truth. Your conscious mind says one thing, your subconscious another. Until those two align, you'll never project real influence. By training yourself to spot your own micro-expressions, you force your inner and outer selves into alignment. And when they align, your presence becomes magnetic without effort. Weapon 3. Controlling your inner narrative. Narrative control isn't just for others. You've been telling yourself a story your entire life. The problem is, most people inherit their story instead of writing it. My family was poor, so I'll always struggle. I failed before, so I'm not good enough. I'm shy, so I'll never be a leader. Those aren't facts, they're narratives. And the longer you believe them, the more real they become. So you must become your own narrator. Rewrite your story consciously. Not with delusion, but with deliberate design. I come from struggle, so I know resilience. I failed before, which means I understand risk. I'm quiet, which makes me powerful in silence. The story you believe about yourself is the cage or the crown you wear every day. Choose it wisely. Weapon 4. Delayed validation on yourself. Craving constant reward is the fastest way to stay weak. If you need instant results, you're easy to control. Train yourself to delay your own validation. Don't reward every effort with dopamine. Don't celebrate too early. Build tolerance for the grind. Set goals that take weeks, months, years, and learn to enjoy the hunger. When you master delayed validation inside, no external manipulator can bait you with false promises or quick rewards. You'll be unhookable. Weapon 5. The silent pressure within. Remember silence as a tool? Use it inward. Most people drown themselves in noise, music, social feeds, endless chatter because they fear silence. Why? Because in silence, the truth appears. Practice sitting in stillness with your own thoughts. Let the discomfort rise. Let the suppressed voices surface. At first, it will feel unbearable. But eventually, you'll realize silence doesn't crush you. It strengthens you. When you can face silence without fear, you'll never again be desperate for noise to distract you. And desperation is one of the easiest levers others use to control you. Weapon 6. Anchoring states of power. Anchor isn't just about making others associate feelings with you. It's about teaching your own brain to access states of power on command. Create a ritual, a posture, a breath, a gesture. Something you repeat every time you feel unstoppable. Over time, your brain will wire that gesture to that emotion. Later, when fear tries to overtake you, use the gesture. The emotion will return. That's anchoring turned inward. That's psychological armor you carry anywhere. Because here's the truth, you can't apply dark psychology safely until you own your shadow. If you try to influence others while being ruled by your own fears, you'll slip. You'll overreact. You'll expose yourself. But if you train inward first, if you reframe your thoughts, read your own leaks, rewrite your story, master hunger, sit with silence, and anchor your own power. You become untouchable. Only then can you move into the world with tools sharp enough to cut others without cutting yourself. Dark psychology isn't just about bending others. It's about bending yourself into something unbreakable. And once you've done that, then and only then can you apply it outward with clarity and precision. Section 5, Ethical Application, where darkness becomes clarity. By now, you've seen the weapons. You've stepped into the shadows. You understand how influence can bend minds, shape emotions, and direct choices. And here's the truth that chills most people. Once you learn these tools, you cannot unlearn them. The question becomes, what will you do with them? Because dark psychology doesn't care about morality. It only cares about results. Whether you use it to protect or to exploit, to lead or to deceive, depends entirely on who you choose to become. And that choice separates the warrior from the predator. The predator sees dark psychology as a weapon to feed their hunger. They use it to manipulate for quick gains, money, attention, submission. Their goal is control, not clarity. They drain others because they believe power is about taking. The predator delays validation not to build loyalty, but to keep people desperate. They use silence not to create space, but to suffocate. They control narratives not to inspire, but to enslave. And for a while, it works. Predators rise fast. They gather followers. They intimidate, manipulate, and dominate. But predators always collapse. Why? Because their power is built on fear. And fear is unstable. Fear can turn. Fear can revolt. History is full of predators who seemed invincible, only to fall the moment the people they controlled found a story stronger than fear. The predator burns bridges. The warrior builds them. The warrior uses the same tools, but for a different reason. The warrior sees dark psychology as a shield and a scalpel, a way to cut through lies, defend the vulnerable, and steer chaos into order. They understand that people are always being influenced, so they choose to be the influence that protects, not the one that preys. When the warrior delays validation, it isn't to starve people, it's to strengthen them, to help them earn trust, to teach patience, to make the eventual reward meaningful. When the warrior uses silence, it isn't to punish, it's to create space, to let others reveal themselves, to bring hidden truths into the light. When the warrior controls a narrative, it isn't to enslave, it's to unite, to inspire hope in times of fear, to give direction when chaos swallows the room. The difference is intent. Predators feed their ego. Warriors feed the mission. Here's a distinction most never make: the difference between manipulating someone without their awareness and influencing them with their consent. Manipulation is covert control. It takes away freedom. It bends someone's will without their knowledge. Influence with consent, on the other hand, creates alignment. It helps people reach what they already want, but are too blind or afraid to chase. Example: a therapist might use reframing to help a patient see their trauma differently. Is that dark psychology? Yes, but it's ethical because the influence serves the patient's healing. Example: a leader might delay validation to push their team toward excellence. Is that manipulation? Yes, but it's ethical because the result strengthens the people, not weakens them. When you apply these tools, ask, does this make the other person smaller, or does it make them stronger? The answer will tell you whether you are walking the path of predator or warrior. The true power of ethical darkness. Here's the paradox. Many people fear that using dark psychology ethically makes it weaker, that if you don't exploit, you won't gain. But the opposite is true. Predators gain short-term power, but they destroy trust. Warriors gain lasting influence because trust becomes their foundation. And trust, once earned, is stronger than fear. When people follow you because they fear you, they are waiting for a chance to escape. When people follow you because they trust you, they will carry your mission even in your absence. That is true power. Not control over actions, but presence in someone's mind even when you're not there. You can't escape it. Now that you know the tools, you will use them, maybe unconsciously, maybe deliberately. Every pause, every frame, every silence will shift the world around you. The only question is, which path are you walking? The predator's path is seductive, quick wins, easy control, but it always ends in isolation. Alone at the top, surrounded by fear, with no one left to trust. The warrior's path is harder. It demands patience, clarity, and restraint, but it builds legacy. It creates influence that outlives you. Dark psychology doesn't decide for you. It only hands you the blade. You choose whether it cuts to wound or to heal. Section 6, Case Studies. When darkness walks in the real world. Concepts are interesting, tools are powerful, but nothing carves them into your memory like stories. Because stories are where dark psychology stops being theory and starts breathing. Let me take you through 4 windows into the real world. 4 moments where influence, silence, fear, and narrative decided everything. Case Study 1, the business takeover. Picture a boardroom in New York, late at night. The company is crumbling, money is bleeding, the executives are desperate. On one side of the table, the CEO confident, loud, barking orders. On the other side, a quiet partner, almost invisible. For weeks, this quiet partner has been practicing delayed validation. Whenever the CEO sought approval, the partner gave none. Whenever ideas were floated, the partner listened but never confirmed. Over time, the CEO began chasing his approval unconsciously. Then came the night of decision. The company needed a new strategy. The CEO pitched aggressively, pounding the table, demanding action. The room was tense. The partner leaned back, silent, saying nothing. The silence grew heavier by the second. The executives shifted uncomfortably. Finally, the partner spoke. "We need stability, not noise. If you want survival, follow me." In that moment, the balance shifted. The CEO lost his grip, the room turned, and leadership quietly changed hands. That wasn't luck. That was narrative control, silence, and delayed validation. Dark psychology turning invisibility into domination. Case Study 2, the kidnapping survivor, South America, 1990s. A young woman is taken hostage by a small criminal gang. Isolated, terrified, no weapon, no help. But she has her mind. Instead of begging, she begins mirroring her captor's behavior. When they're angry, she shows fear, but only briefly. When they relax, she relaxes. Slowly, she builds rapport by syncing with their emotions. Then she plants seeds. She tells small stories of her life, her family, her dreams. Stories designed to anchor her captor's emotions, to make her more human, less disposable. One night, when food runs low, she pretends weakness. She whispers, "I trust you. You're not like the others." That single phrase rewrites the narrative in her captor's mind. Suddenly, he sees himself not as her enemy, but as her protector. Days later, he helps her escape. He even lies to his own group to set her free. She survived not with force, but with emotional anchoring, narrative seeding, and precision framing. Dark psychology became her lifeline. Case Study 3, the political rise. A small-town mayor with no charisma, no resources, and no chance decides to run for governor. Everyone laughs, until they see his campaign. Instead of promising vague hopes, he creates an enemy, not a person, but an idea. He frames corruption as the monster destroying the state. He tells stories of ordinary families crushed by unseen hands. He makes every voter feel like they are the victim of a villain only he can fight. His speeches are short, but his silences are long. He pauses after every bold claim, letting the crowd fill the air with their own outrage. He doesn't just speak, he conducts. By election night, the underdog wins, not because of facts, but because of narrative control. He didn't sell policies, he sold a war. And people are always willing to follow a general into battle, even if the war is an illusion. Case Study 4, the teacher who broke a gang. Chicago, early 2000s. A high school teacher inherits a classroom filled with gang-affiliated students. Threats, fights, chaos. Every other teacher failed to control them. But this one doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't try to dominate. He starts with silence. When insults fly, he doesn't react. When chairs are thrown, he calmly picks them up and continues. At first, they laugh, but slowly, his unshakable presence unnerves them. Then he mirrors them, slang for slang, tone for tone, but always anchored in respect. He reframes their defiance as leadership. If you can control this room, you can control your future. Bit by bit, he delays validation. No instant praise, no easy approval. They chase his respect. And when they earn it, he anchors that moment with rituals, handshakes, nods, small but powerful recognition. Months later, the same students who mocked authority are running projects, helping younger kids, and carrying themselves with pride. He didn't beat them with fear. He redirected their psychology back onto themselves. He became the warrior who used dark tools to heal, not harm. Do you see it? None of these cases relied on brute force. None relied on shouting or domination. They relied on subtlety, on silence, framing, delayed validation, anchoring, narrative control. In business, it changed the leader. In captivity, it saved a life. In politics, it built a movement. In a classroom, it transformed chaos into order. That's the secret. Dark psychology isn't loud, it's quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It flows like a current under the surface, guiding everything while appearing invisible. And here's the most important part. Every story shows that dark psychology itself is neutral. In the hands of a predator, it enslaves. In the hands of a warrior, it saves. Which means the next case study could be yours. Section 7, the final warning, the dark mirror. You've walked through the shadows. You've seen how words can bend reality, how silence can suffocate, how stories can enslave or liberate. You now hold the same weapons that have toppled leaders, built empires, and saved lives. But here's the truth. Nobody wants to admit. Once you see dark psychology, you cannot unsee it. It lingers. It follows you. Every conversation becomes a puzzle. Every pause feels like a strategy. Every compliment feels like a hook. You will notice things others can't, and sometimes you'll wish you couldn't. That's the mirror you're standing in front of right now. And it's dark. Because power always demands a price. If you abuse these tools, they will hollow you out. Manipulation corrodes trust. Control isolates you, and one day, you'll look around and realize you've built a kingdom of shadows where loyalty is fake, smiles are masks, and you are utterly alone. But if you walk the warrior's path, the same shadows become clarity. You'll see through deception before it traps you. You'll protect the people you care about from predators who weaponize fear. You'll lead with presence, not noise. And most of all, you'll never again be a puppet to unseen strings. That's the choice. Predator or warrior, manipulator or protector, slave to the shadows or master of them. But don't fool yourself, there is no walking away. You've opened the door, you've looked into the mirror, and once you know the game exists, you're already playing. The only question is, how will you play it? Section 8, Becoming the Architect. You began this journey believing dark psychology was a set of tricks. Now you know the truth. It is not a game of cheap persuasion. It is the hidden architecture beneath every choice, every story, every silence. You've seen the three realms, the battle within yourself, the dance between people, the structures that silently guide entire societies. You've opened the arsenal of tools, framing, silence, narrative, validation, anchoring, and turned them inward before outward. You've heard the stories of those who rose, those who survived, and those who fell. And now you stand at the edge of the final question. What will you build with this? Some will walk away, frightened by the weight of it. Others will abuse it, thinking power is found in manipulation. But the rare few, the ones who become architects, will use this knowledge like a scalpel, not a blade. They will cut away illusion, carve paths of influence, and design futures others cannot even imagine. Because in the end, dark psychology isn't about darkness at all. It's about vision, seeing what others cannot, shaping what others refuse to. You've stepped through the door. You've seen the mirror. Now, it's time to choose the world you will create.